right, folks, welcome to Thursday, August 13th, 2026. This is Bright Videos News, and I am Mike Adams, and I've got something really cool for you today. We have a new microscope set up in the studio, and I have a special report giving you updates on the experiments that have now been unleashed with the new microscope. I'll bring you those photos and some interesting video from that. And also doing some upgrades to my local data center. I've got some news for you. Also about some new AI model training solutions that have just been released, which will allow us, well, really me and my AI agents, to give you new free open source AI models. My goal is to get you a smaller one by Halloween and then a larger one by Christmas. And I may be able to beat those timelines, but we'll see. So I've got updates for you on all that. And in addition, let's see, what do I have? Oh, yeah. I've got another special report about the privacy stack for your Degoogled phones that I think is really valuable. I'll bring you that. And then I have a new Decentralized TV episode with the creator of Bastion, who has a new, secure, anonymous, decentralized messaging system called Forta.chat. Forta.chat. Very cool. It's also free, by the way. So it's free, it's anonymous, it's decentralized, and to use it, you don't have to even give your email address or a phone number. It's not tied to your phone like Signal. It's not tied to your email address, anything like that. So, and also, I think he said that in Forta chat, if you follow my account on Brighteon.io, which is just the username Health Ranger, then whenever I post on Health Ranger, you will receive those messages inside Forta chat if you are following the Health Ranger channel. So this is going to function as an emergency backup communication system, a messaging system, but you can also use it with your friends and associates. It supports calling and audio and video calls, and it also supports audio messaging. So you can record a little message right there in the app and send it to people, or you can send and receive text. The thing is, there's no app for iPhones because Apple won't approve it, but you can still use it on iPhones, and I know people who are using it on iPhones through the Safari browser. So it works in a browser tab on iPhones. And then on Android devices, especially Degoogled phones, which is what you should be using anyway, you can just download the APK file. It's very easy. Install it, run it, boom, you're up and running. It's beautiful, beautiful app on Android devices. Totally secure communications. I mean, end-to-end encrypted. I should say peer-to-peer encrypted. So it's encrypted from the initiating peer to the receiving peer, and there's no server in between that has the decryption keys like Telegram has that, or I'm pretty sure Signal works that way too, although I'm not 100% sure about if Signal does that. But Forta chat does not keep keys at all. So it can never know what you're chatting about or what you're saying or the messages that you sent to your friends or associates or whatever. So that is very cool. All right, so all of that is coming up today. And if you missed it yesterday, I published my interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who really went off on Trump's support for the mRNA vaccines. I don't blame her. And I also published my interview with Alex Jones from... What day was that? That was Tuesday. Yeah, that was Tuesday. Where we talked about not just AI, but the AI companies trying to use human brain cells to build like hybrid cyborgs with biological, neurological, human brain cell systems combined with machines, which sounds exactly as dark as you might imagine. So if you missed that interview, that's also worth checking out. In any case, today's sponsor is a satellite phone store, SAT123.com, which also offers Starlink systems. And you can find those at starlink123.com. People are loving the Starlink systems. Speeds are blazing fast. Reliability is very good. And because it doesn't have to be attached to your address, like you can have a Starlink system shipped to a different address than where you live, by the way. Yeah. I mean, it can't be in a different state, but it doesn't have to be right where you live. And you can move those Starlinks around within, I don't know what the radius is, maybe 100 miles or something, and they will still work. In fact, the Starlink system will figure out where it is, and it will connect to the right satellites. But my point is, you don't have to actually use your physical address when you order a Starlink system. You can have it shipped to a friend or some other place or whatever. So check that out at starlink123.com. It's working great. It's working great for millions of people. And of course, the SpaceX company continues to scale that system up. Very, very cool. All right, well, enjoy the rest of the show. And I will be back with you tomorrow with additional updates and another new interview. So enjoy. Okay, I want to show you something really cool because we have a new expanded microscope now set up in my studio. You'll see this on studio camera coming up soon. I want to show you this picture here. Now, this photo is of our sample under the microscope, and the sample looks like sort of bluish, like a bluish blob, blue water or something like that. Actually, what it is, that is melted xylitol with 1 drop of methylene blue in it. And then just melted and stirred up. And then I poured it onto this Lexan plexiglass, basically plate there. And you may notice there's an aluminum block underneath it. That aluminum block is 1 inch thick aluminum, very, very heavy mass. That is designed to accelerate the freezing of the xylitol crystals. And I'm going to show you that video here shortly. But what I do is I take that aluminum block and I stick it in the freezer and I freeze it. And then right when I'm ready to, then I have the hot xylitol ready. I pour the hot xylitol onto the plate, and then I put the plate onto the cold aluminum block, and then I stick all that under the microscope, which is what you see here, and that accelerates the freezing of xylitol. Now, during the freezing of xylitol, and that's kind of an odd term, okay? And there's a lot that I need to explain about this, but I'm not going to go into all the details here. Xylitol will sometimes freeze at room temperature. And when it freezes, it's like water in the sense that it starts forming crystals, and the crystals can form shapes. And those shapes are determined, as you know, if you follow my work, those shapes are determined by what's happening in the morphic fields, which is sort of a cosmic aggregation of consciousness, which I know sounds weird, but I've already shown this in other experiments last summer. I don't know if you recall the images. I was asking 2 weeks before the first bombing of Iran. I was asking what's going to happen, and I wrote a prompt on a slide like this. I wrote it with a permanent marker, I think, or a paint marker. And it was asking about the war. And then the images that appeared showed stealth bombers flying over the desert, showed a one-horned ram very clearly. I showed you all these last year. I published them last year before the war. They're published on naturalnews.com. Showed a very clear sketched out image of a combat knife. Oh, and by the way, the one-horned ram has very specific meaning in Islam. The one-horned ram means that there would be a leadership decapitation, removing one of the horns from the ram. And the ram is tied to Abraham. If you go back to Old Testament, and of course, Abraham is also reflected in Islam, as is Jesus Christ, in case you're wondering about that. Jesus is explained as a prophet in Islam. A lot of Christians don't know that, but he is reflected in Islam. Anyway, the point is, I'm about to restart these experiments with some upgraded equipment and some AI analysis. So here's what's going to happen next that I think will blow your mind, but I don't know for sure. We have to try it and see. I mean, this is like right on the edge of advanced science, and sometimes the experiments don't work. Sometimes they do, and then they blow people's minds, and other times they don't work. But let me tell you what I'm doing here. So you may have noticed from looking at this photo, and again, I'm about to show you some video, but from this photo, you may have noticed that the stage, which is that's the platform on which this aluminum block is sitting, that this stage is quite large. It is, in fact, very large. It's much larger than the stage of the previous microscope that I was using last year. Now, this microscope technology, it comes out of Japan, by the way. The company is called Keyence, Keyence. In fact, I think you can see that on one of the lenses in this photo. It's right there written on the lens, Keyence. And this microscope platform is called VHX. And this is their most advanced optical microscope. And it is ridiculously advanced. I mean, this is the highest end of Japanese engineering for optical analysis. It's just amazing. And one of the things it does is it automatically stitches images across a large area of observation. In this case, I can zoom in to something like, let's say, 500x or even 700x, although I may not run it that high. And I can have it in an X and Y grid. I can have it actually take these high magnification images across an area that is 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters square, which is about 4 inches. So 4 by 4 inches, which actually covers most of this entire slide here with the blue xylitol on it. Okay, but here's what's really interesting about that is that this microscope will also auto focus each of those images. So it'll do a Z movement up and down, find the right depth of field, find the right focus. Actually, it'll do a full depth of field image that brings a lot of depth into focus. And then it will stitch that together with the other images, and then it will move the right amount to go to the next tile, let's say. And I can tell it to scan 4 inches by 4 inches at a crazy high resolution like 700x, and it will do that, which will take hours, by the way, but it will automate that. See, the problem I ran into last year is that it was taking me many, many human hours to try to, number one, capture the images and look through all the images and try to identify objects. Like the falcon that we found in one of the images, which is, or the ram or other things. So what this microscope does is it automates the image capture. And I'm about to show you a video of this live, which is pretty wild, but it automates the image capture and it produces one giant, like really giant, I think it's a JPEG file or a PNG format. And this one image file can be like 500 megabytes or even a gig. And it can be crazy large, like 20,000 pixels across or even more. An image so large that most photo editors won't even be able to load it. It's just way too big. Like you couldn't even load it in Photoshop, I don't think, unless you had some kind of supercomputer or something. But what I can do with that image then, and this is the next step that I'm working on, is I can have AI vision language models work through that image, taking advantage of local GPUs, in my mini data center that I'm running. And I've got a photo about that to show you here pretty soon. And then the local OCR vision language models will find objects. And it may take a local system, it could take like 12 hours, maybe longer, we'll see. I haven't done this part yet. It might take 24 hours to scan one image and try to find common objects like, animals, birds, shapes, buildings, symbols, these kinds of things. And then, of course, I'm going to vibe code this whole thing. It's actually going to be pretty simple. And then it's going to produce all the little snapshots of the objects that it found on this slide. And it's going to save those off as little separate JPEGs in its own folder. And it will record the coordinates, like which tile had this particular object or shape or whatever. And then we'll have to adjust the looseness or how tight the definitions are. Like, is that the shape of a heart? Kinda. Or, like we would have to adjust the kinda parameters. Like how loose of a shape fit do we allow? That's some of the fine tuning that's going to happen with this. And also, what kinds of different objects are we looking for? We're looking for like faces and people, or common objects like objects of war, or like airplanes, or, symbols of love, symbols of violence, nature. I already mentioned animals, things like that. So this is the next stage of my project here, which is all about consciousness expressed through the formation of crystals as a common sugar, xylitol, is freezing at room temperature. Yeah, and we're going to learn a lot from this, because what I've already figured out, and that almost nobody else knows or seems to even be willing to entertain, is that you can actually ask questions of the cosmos the same way you would prompt an AI model. It's just that the universe is even smarter than all the AI models, and the universe will answer your question in different kinds of formats, including here in xylitol. And no, by the way, for those of you like, is it like a demon Ouija board? No. This is God's cosmos, and God built this into the cosmos. This is something that the creator of our entire simulation engineered into the entire universe. And it's also something that your brain automatically works on. This is one of the sources of human creativity, or human divinity, or individuality, consciousness, self-awareness. These are all because of connections to this divine system of morphic resonance that actually allows you to ask the universe and then to receive, which in the Christian tradition is called prayer. That's right, prayer. Well, I guess it's more than the Christian tradition. It's called prayer. Even in Islam, it would be called prayer. In Buddhism, it might be called meditation. Same mechanism, exactly the same mechanism. You are putting out your intention. You're asking God or the universe or the morphic resonance fields, which are actually just different ways to describe the same cosmic intelligence, by the way. You're asking questions, and then you're allowing the answers to be expressed in things that you are consciously observing. And because of that, you will get information. Now, this works in water. Dr. Emoto did this with what's it called? Messages from Water, I think was the name of that book, where he would freeze water crystals and find all of these shapes. And then I've been told that there's a woman doing this. I think her name is Austin, or is it Jane? Is it Jane Austen? I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong, but I think that's her name, who's also doing it with water, I believe, and seeing lots of images and capturing images of different shapes like birds and all kinds of things in water crystals, which is great. It's just that I pioneered the technique for doing this with xylitol because I don't have to sit in a freezer. Yeah, I can do it at room temperature, and I'm using this aluminum block to help me freeze the xylitol more quickly. So now I'm going to show you some video of this happening in real time. Now, to my editor, I want you to show, I think it's about the last 4 minutes of the segment that we recorded in the studio a couple days ago. And then for those of you viewing, I want you to just watch what's happening. Now, this is zoomed in. I think the magnification of this is, it's either 500x or maybe as much as 700, but it's somewhere in that range, as I recall. And this was just a test. And what you're seeing is as the crystal freezes, it is forming structure, but it's also doing something that I call scribbling. Or in an AI engine, you would call it rendering. You would say it's rendering, or sometimes it's called in-painting. It's painting pixels if you're using an AI engine. In this case, we're using physical crystals to build 3D structures in the 3D world. So it's not just pixels on a screen. It's 3D structures that are not just random chance. Now, we haven't written a prompt on this plexiglass. So who knows what we're going to get out of this? I have no idea. It could just be random, or it could be something that's reflecting some consciousness in the world, whatever is happening right now. But what you're watching right now is the construction of crystals as the xylitol is freezing. And with each molecule that then goes through this phase transition, it is making, I'm just going to use a common term. I'm going to say it's making a choice, but that's probably not the right term, because it doesn't have neurology, it doesn't have a brain. Itself, it's not a living system, obviously. These are just very simple sugar molecules. But there are structures that are being imprinted upon it from outside of itself. Noesis is a term that I use to describe this. So it's not that there's neurology inside xylitol, because there isn't. Look at it. We can see right through it. There are no organelles in there. There's no cell membranes, nothing, right? But it's receiving an overlay of information from outside of itself. And that's especially notable because if you know anything about the history of xylitol, you know that before the year, 1941, I think, it was in the 1940s. Before that year, xylitol would always stay liquid at room temperature everywhere around the world. It only began to form crystal structures in the 1940s. And once it began to form crystal structures, that imprint, that template of information, was instantly imprinted into the cosmic fields, the morphic resonance. And then from that day forward, all of the xylitol all around the world began to freeze at room temperature. Now, I've covered this before. This is well documented. This is part of history. And there are other crystalline structures. There was even a drug made by a drug company that suddenly one day it just started forming crystals all over the world simultaneously. Nobody could figure it out. The chemists were baffled. They had to reformulate the whole thing. But I know why that happened. And Rupert Sheldrake is the author and the science investigator who has written about this. And I believe he's the one who coined the term morphic resonance. So I'm borrowing that term from Rupert Sheldrake. But now I'm able to show morphic resonance happening in real time, which is what you're watching right now in the 3D world. Now, what you're watching isn't very colorful. As I recall, it was a lot of darker colors, some blacks and grays and things like that. I was just doing this as a quick test, by the way. But as you've seen with some of the other photos that I've published and other videos, just xylitol will create structures that under light can have any color. They can be golden. We have many examples of golden colors. We have red, we have blues, we have greens, we have snow scenes that look like a snow blizzard with Christmas lights in the background. We have all kinds of scenic images that I captured last year. And again, many of them I published, and some of them foretold things or events that were about to happen. One of them showed an image of a building in Tel Aviv with missiles raining down out of the sky. And then literally 2 weeks later, that exact image was broadcast on mainstream media, like an almost perfect replica. And I published that last year. Perhaps you've already seen that. That is published at naturalnews.com with the correct dates, because I published that image publicly 2 weeks before the news broadcast that video actually happening, just as depicted in the image. Now, to my editor, if we go to the end of this, just loop it. Just loop it. Just start it over again, because I think it's only 4 minutes of this video. Just play it again, because I have a couple more comments here. One of the things that's really mysterious about this is that as I've done this with xylitol crystals, or with xylitol that's melted, there are times where xylitol would not freeze for weeks or even months. And that would happen in certain blobs of xylitol. So if I were to make a lot of individual blobs, let's say, and you can see, like on the original image under the microscope, some of the blobs are isolated from other blobs. Well, once crystals start forming in a blob, that's a molecular spark or seed or structural template that will propagate throughout that entire blob. So once there's one crystal forming in one blob, it will eventually spread and take over the entire blob. But I have seen blobs where no crystals formed, like I said, for weeks or months. And even though xylitol is cooler than the so-called freezing temperature, which means it should form xylitol ice crystals, you could call them, maybe, but it doesn't. So sometimes xylitol resists crystallization, even at cooler temperatures, which is very interesting to me because of the history of xylitol. Remember, before the 1940s, it was always liquid at room temperature, and it would never form crystals. Now it tends to form crystals at room temperature because, the chemistry hasn't changed. The molecule hasn't changed. The laws of chemistry did not change from 1941 to 2026, right? Every chemist would agree with that. The laws of chemistry did not change. What changed? What changed is the patterns, the overlay templates of structural patterns that exist in the morphic fields that all matter is connected to. All matter, which would include xylitol, obviously, all matter is connected to morphic fields. Why? Because we are living in a simulation. Ultimately, that's why. We're living in a simulated, this is a whole podcast by itself. It's as real as anything else you observe. You, the observer, you make it real. The universe is rendered for conscious minds as necessary to portray the holodeck, let's say, the 3D space that your biological body inhabits as a bioproxy for your conscious mind, which is not in the simulation. So your mind, your consciousness is not in your skull, by the way. It's outside this entire realm. It's outside the 3D space, okay? As is the creator of the simulation, outside the 3D space. In different religious traditions, they have different names for that. In Christianity, it's heaven. And heaven is in a different dimension, up in the sky, or that's what they like to say, but it's not really up or down. It's outside the simulation. So it's in a completely larger, transcendent, dimensional expression that we can't, fathom here. But our physical bodies are inhabited by our non-physical, or I should say they are controlled by our non-physical minds and consciousness, which interfaces with our physical biological brains. A similar thing happens with all matter. All matter is, of course, just, let's say, a standing wave of energy or a standing wave of probability waves. Or wait, that sounds redundant. A standing wave of probabilities. A collapsed probability wave. Okay, the observer effect, right? Quantum realities, quantum phenomena. These are all factors here, but all matter is just an expression of energy, and all matter is connected to morphic fields that are templates for how things are structured and how things function and how things behave in the simulation. And I've talked before about how spiders are born knowing how to build spider webs and how to engineer very, very complex structures, by the way, and how to repair them and diagnose them, which they do. I've observed this myself on purpose. Even though no spider ever went to spider school, and in the spider genetics, there are no genes that describe spider web repair, it turns out. So this is beyond genetics, or you could say epigenetic, or transcendent, way beyond physical, the physical state of genetics. And it turns out that when you look at genetics, and of course I'm teaching an entire course on genetic survival and gene repair right now, when you look at genetics, mostly just describes the synthesis of physical proteins that run much of your body, including hormones and other things, and how to build neurons and how to build skin cells and how to build, blood cells, etc. Right? How to rebuild stem cells as needed, things like that. So your DNA is simply the physical construction blueprint for your biological body that is in touch with and controlled by your non-physical mind/spirit or soul. Okay? Now, I know this might sound like a tangent here, but it's actually all related, because you will never be able to understand why xylitol will freeze into shapes that answer a human prompt if you don't understand that all matter is connected to consciousness. See, I mean, this fundamental underlying pillar of our reality has to be understood first. And of course, Western science has zero understanding of this. Western science thinks everything is separate, that nothing is connected, and that all matter is made of little tiny parts, particles they call them. And if you have a powerful enough super collider, you could find all the particles, including what they call the God particle. They think God is a particle, like a subatomic particle that they think they can catch on camera or something. Well, not an optical camera, obviously. But they are completely misled. Inside all the particles is nothing but energy, and inside all the energy is consciousness. So there's conscious connection. All right. Now, so what you're watching in this video is a crystal that is receiving information from a cosmic template. Now, in this case, I didn't ask it anything. I didn't push any intention into this because I was just running a little demo here. But what I'm about to do is, of course, we'll start putting intentions into these and we'll see what we get. Now, let me show you another photo here. This is some wiring. This is my hand working with a bunch of wires here. This is actually the backside of the motherboard of a large tower workstation. Now, in order to run these AI vision language models, and also I'm working on some video rendering upgrades using Minimax H3, but I'm doing these hardware upgrades to my mini data center, and much of what I have to do involves thermal management, because GPUs produce a tremendous amount of heat. So typically the problems you have are power source management. How do you provide enough electricity through, obviously, UPSs that can handle it, which is more difficult than it sounds. And then also, how do you handle the thermal, the heat production? And thermal management is handled through either high-speed fans or liquid coolers, both of which I'm using in this particular tower right here. So if I could show you the other side of this picture, which I don't have that, this system actually has two GPUs in it. Both of them are NVIDIA 6000 Pros. So the GPUs, each of them has 96 gigs of RAM or VRAM, and each of them defaults to running at 600 watts. Now you can turn those down, which I do. I turn them down to 450 watts. Otherwise, they would just cook, and you can't run them over what, like maybe maximum 95 Celsius. I don't even let them get that high. I set them to top out at 86 degrees Celsius. I don't want them hitting 90 ever. But in order to do that, you have to move a lot of air through the case. And In order to do that, you have to have dynamic control over the fan speeds. So the RPMs of the fans matter. So what I have done, which I feel really good about here, is I used AI vibe coding to write a relatively simple Python script that monitors the power draw of the GPUs off the 12-volt power backbone of the motherboard. And as the power draw increases, the system automatically ramps up the RPMs of the case fans, even before temperatures rise. So the case fans go faster just based on the draw of power. And that starts the cooling effect, right away. So I don't want to lag behind rising temperatures. So I actually have this monitoring system, and it's giving me real-time readouts of GPU temps, and it's cranking up the fans, which you can hear because some of these fans run at 3,000 RPM. And yeah, you can definitely hear those fans because they're screaming and they're just thrusting air through the system. And of course, the system is a giant heater box, which is fun in the winter because I don't have to run any other heaters. But in summer months, it's a huge pain because then I have to expend extra energy for the cooling of all this excess heat. But I've done research on these GPUs, and I know that if I turn them down from 600 watts to 450 watts, I only lose 8% of the video rendering output, or even the visual language analysis output. I only lose 8%. So I can cut power by 25%, and I still get 92% of the same benchmarks of throughput. So in my mind, that's a pretty good trade-off. That's why I have them tuned down to 450 watts. But I have multiple workstations like this. And what I'm gearing up for, I should mention, I don't have a picture for this, but the Unsloth company just announced a new desktop tool for LLM fine-tuning training on your desk without having to write code, which is something I knew this was coming. I've been waiting for this. A couple of years ago, we had to use a lot of heavy-duty engineering and hire specialists and spend a lot of money to build the original Enoch LLM that you can download for free. It's open source at brightAnswers.ai. And now, thanks to Unsloth, as long as you have a capable workstation with enough GPU RAM, you can just download a model like a new Qwen model, and Qwen 3.8 just came out. And then I can take all of the data that I've been gathering for years, millions of pages of articles and science papers and transcripts and, lots of books and things like that. But also huge donations from Dr. Mercola and Sayer G and Ty Bollinger, The Truth About Cancer. Even Dr. Chris Martenson sent me his entire body of articles all the way back to 2008. So anyway, we have all of this, plus everything I've ever written, all the interviews I've ever done, all those transcripts, every article ever published on Natural News, etc. Massive collection of knowledge. We can now use that with this new software to simply train AI models to now add or expand their memory to all of this new knowledge, thanks to Unsloth. So these workstations, the one that I just showed you the photo of, these workstations have dual purpose. They're not just for doing, well, more than dual. They can do vision language analysis of the crystal microscopy images. They can do video rendering, which you'll see a lot more of coming up soon. Of course, they can do text generation and image generation. That's straightforward. But they can also do model training. So my goal for you is to take the new Qwen 3.8 models, and I think there'll be a 9 billion model or an 8 billion model. Maybe it's already out. I'd have to check. The first thing I'm going to do is train that model with all the knowledge that we have, and then I'll release that model for free. So you'll have a new version of the original Enoch model, which is kind of outdated. I mean, let's face it, that was more like around the Qwen 7 billion generation. So it's like 2 years old, which in the world of AI is ancient. It needs to be retired, But we'll use Qwen 3.8. Again, probably a 9 billion parameter model. We'll train that first. If that goes well, Then my goal is to train a 27 billion parameter model, which Quen has. And that's a really, really good model. The 27B, it's actually my favorite everyday model. It's a workhorse. It's amazing. The thing is, I just don't know if it's going to fit, if the training of it will fit in 96 gigs of VRAM. Now, the unsloth algorithms will allow you to use effectively 60 or 70% less memory in a GPU than what you would normally have to use otherwise. And the unsloth people are very clever. I've talked with them. They are very, high level math people, very smart. So they have all these efficiencies built into their training algorithms. The bottom line is, if I can train a 27 billion parameter model, then I will. And I would hope to have that out by Christmas, maybe sooner. But a 9 billion parameter model, I think I could, I have to factor in screw ups and power failures and bad data formatting and mismatched fields and things. If it were a smooth run, it could probably train the model in like 1 week on our complete data set. But figuring all the other mishaps and problems and learning the config files and everything, it'll probably take me a few passes at that. So let's give that a couple of months. So let's say, what is it? It's mid-August right now. Let's say by Halloween. How about that? Let's say by Halloween, I want to get you a new, like a 9 billion parameter model. Again, free, open source. You'll be able to download it, run it locally. And then by Christmas, if possible, I want to get you a 27 billion parameter model that will have all this knowledge about natural health, natural cures, you know, the drill, all this stuff. And then you'll be able to keep that model locally and run it locally, and you'll have all that knowledge at your fingertips. No one can ban it, no one can censor it, no guardrails, etc. It's going to rock. You will love it. So that's what I'm up to. That's my update. Xylitol experiments, morphic resonance, cosmic consciousness within the sim, beefing up the data center, thermal management, high density GPUs for vision language analysis, model training, plus video rendering. So that's pretty much, there goes the rest of my year, all the way to Christmas. There shall be no breaks between now and then, just plowing through all this stuff and scaling it up and then sharing the results with you. So it's going to be interesting. If you want to help support us, of course, shop at healthrangerstore.com. You can check out our affiliates page and our sponsors at rangerdeals.com. And there we've got like the satellite phone store with the sat phones. We've got sources for, ivermectin for pets. We've got gold and silver affiliates there, like Battalion Metals, which is amazing. We've got Above Phone there with the Degoogled phones that people absolutely love. Just some hand-picked partners with some equipment that will help you make it through whatever's coming. And if you want to stay informed about all of this, then of course follow me at brightvideos.com. That's brightvideos.com. All my videos and interviews there. And then naturalnews.com for the articles and the infographics and of course the photos. Once we have some really awesome photos from the xylitol experiments, then I will be publishing those at naturalnews.com and you'll be able to check them out there. And of course, I'll publish some videos of the real-time stuff, the actual real-time sketching and scribbling and building of structures. We may speed those up, like a 4x speed increase is typically what we would do because the freezing can be quite slow and boring. But what I showed you today is just 1x, Imagine that at 4x or 16x. Sometimes we've done that. So pretty interesting stuff. All right. Thank you for your support. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Got a lot on my plate, but it's an exciting time to be alive, and it's an exciting time to be an adventurer in our cosmos and to be asking the big questions of how this whole thing works. I mean, the simulation, how it all works, how it's all connected, and hopefully how we can, help each other survive and thrive, to be happier and more productive and healthier through this entire thing. And while the demonic entities are trying to exterminate all of humanity, right? Just to make things interesting. It's like, really? Why'd you have to pick Earth? Go terrorize some other planet. No, we're going to defeat evil here on this planet, and it's going to be truly epic. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you again soon. Take care. All right, I just interviewed, I think, the key architect of a really important new chat app that is anonymous and private and decentralized with end-to-end peer-to-peer encryption. That is, the sender of the message, the encryption happens on that sender's machine, and then the receiver of the message decrypts it with a public key, but there are no keys held on any servers in between. There are no keys held by any corporation or any entity. And this chat program, I'm going to tell you how to set it up here, or the exact combination of hardware that works to give you completely private, anonymous, protected chat capability, document sharing, as well as audio sharing or audio recordings, little audio snippets, things like that. So here it is. It's called Forta.chat. That's Forta. Forta.chat. And it's brought to you by the same people that built Bastion. And Bastion, Bastion, is the decentralized peer-to-peer blockchain-driven social media network that served as the template for us building Brighteon.io. In fact, Brighteon.io is just a rebranded Bastion. And Forta Chat is the chat feature set brought out of Bastion and put into a separate chat app with additional features such as being able to call each other or being able to do voice snippets or send documents, things like that. Now, here's the critical thing to know about Forta Chat that makes it better than Telegram, better than Signal, better than anything else. Because with Signal or Telegram or Insta Chat or whatever you're using, those all have to be tied to either your phone number or your email address, sometimes both. So that's a route of exposure. And also, those other platforms and apps, they, like the central servers, have the decryption keys. And that's why the French government was able to kidnap Pavel Durov of Telegram and force him to give up the keys for certain channels that they wanted to surveil with their law enforcement, you see. But Forta Chat doesn't even have any keys held in any central servers. There are no keys to give up to anybody. Well, I should say no keys centrally stored. The keys are passed between the peers that are sending and receiving the messages, which is exactly the way it should be. So you will have with Forta.chat, which is, by the way, free. I mean, they don't even charge for it. Completely free to use. You will have a system for private, anonymized, secure messaging, with friends or whoever. And there's a downloadable APK file for Android users. On iPhone users, now remember, iPhone is a total surveillance system, so there's no such thing as a private iPhone. And Apple will not approve an app like this that protects your privacy. So if you're using an iPhone, you've already made a decision that you are okay with mass surveillance. But even on iPhone, in the Safari browser, you can open up a tab and you can use this through the browser. Whereas on Android, you can get a Degoogled phone, and I'll explain how to do that. And then you can download and install the APK of Forta Chat and run the APK. And that's what I'm doing. And it was easy. It was seamless to download and install. And it was working instantly. So let me tell you the best way to do that to protect your privacy. So here it is. First, of course, you want a Degoogled phone, right? So you don't want Google Android, because that's a spy machine also. Not as bad as Apple, but it's still bad. So you want a de-Googled phone that does not even have Google Play on it or a Google account or Google sign-ins at the phone level. And of course, we partnered for a long time, many years, with Above Phone. And I just recently interviewed Hakeem Anwar, who is the founder of Above Phone. And you can catch that interview, by the way, at decentralized.tv. And, we covered all the breakthroughs in phones and laptops and everything that Above Phone has. There's a link to them from my deals site, my affiliate site called rangerdeals.com. Or you could just go to abovephone.com/Brighteon. And there's a way to save, I think it's $50 off of the de-Googled phone, and it's more off of a laptop, which uses the Above Linux system based on Arch Linux for privacy and also, scalability, lots of other advantages to that system. But if you go to abovephone.com/Brighteon, that's Bright, E-O-N, you can get a de-Googled phone. And those phones are going to be the Google Pixel phones. Now, even though Google makes the hardware, the presence of Google has been completely wiped from the OS. So they are de-Googled phones, even though they're still hardware originally made by Google. Well, the cool thing about these phones is that you can have a regular PIN number, to access the phone, but you could also have a duress PIN number. So it's a special PIN that if somebody asks you to enter your PIN number, like, somebody's robbed your house and they have you at gunpoint, they're like, enter your PIN. You can enter this special duress PIN number and it will wipe the phone. It just completely destroys the phone. I mean, wipes all the, the files and everything. So that's a safeguard to prevent you from being hijacked or attacked by, would-be attackers in person. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Very cool. The other thing is that then the phone runs Forta chat very easily. Plus, it's got a great system that bypasses Google Play and lets you run all the other apps that you might want. Like, let's say, Amazon or Audible for audiobooks, or Brave browser, or, thousands of other applications. Very easy to run those on this phone because it has its own package manager that, so far as I've used it with many different apps, it has worked with everything. In fact, it even works with Signal. And I've installed Signal. I've been running that to compare it to Forta Chat. Now then, if you need cell tower bandwidth on this phone, because, right out of the box, you can run it on Wi-Fi, of course. You could just connect it to your local Wi-Fi, and that's going to work. But if you wanted to have bandwidth from the cell towers, then you're going to have to buy an eSIM. Now, these phones support eSIM functionality, which is a electronic SIM card, so it's not physical. They don't have to mail you a physical card. You don't have to plug in a physical card. The eSIM can be acquired from abovephone.com. They have a page about purchasing eSIMs. You buy the eSIM, they send you a QR code to scan. You just point your phone at it, scan it. I mean, you have to go to settings and turn on the eSIM, and then you scan this code, and then boom, you have bandwidth from the cell towers. Now, how do you make that anonymous? Well, part of the answer is you don't buy it with your own personal credit card. So if you're going to pay above phone for an eSIM, if you really care about protecting your privacy, you're either going to go out physically to a store, a retail store, and you buy one of those Visa cards that works anywhere. You just walk out of the store with the Visa card after paying cash, and you can use that Visa card. That's one way. Or if you want to be able to support recurring charges, because these cost a monthly fee for the eSIM, depending on how much bandwidth you want, different monthly fees, you can use a service called privacy.com. And privacy.com gives you unique generated credit card numbers that are not tied to your name. And you can generate a credit card number to use just with above phone. That number cannot be used anywhere else, but it can support repeated charging on abovephone.com for the eSIM. And you can even set a monthly limit so that you know you're never going to be overcharged or the car's not going to be stolen and used somewhere else. And it can also be a vendor-locked card number that only works with Above Phone and no other vendor. How cool is that? And the way privacy.com works is when you have a charge on your virtual credit card that you use through them, they just deduct it out of your checking account. So it just comes right out of your checking account via ACH. So anyway, when you combine all of this, which is Forta.chat, the privacy protected messaging application, you combine that with a Degoogled phone from abovephone.com. You combine that with the eSIM that you bought with a virtual credit card number from privacy.com. Then literally, as you're driving around with that phone, with that eSIM, the cell towers cannot identify you. Nothing can be traced back to your name or your identity in any way whatsoever. You're not logged into Google. You didn't use a credit card in your name to make the purchase. In fact, when you make the purchase, you shouldn't even use your real name. You just use a totally made up name with your credit card, the virtual credit card number from privacy.com. You don't need to use a real name. You don't need to use your real address. The credit card will work because it's a virtual card number that you created for this purpose. So Above Phone doesn't know who you are. Forta Chat doesn't know who you are. Cell towers don't know who you are. And if there's ever any kind of like geofencing warrant thing that sweeps people up, who are completely innocent, by the way, you could just be in the area and you could end up being arrested and charged with a crime that you did not commit just because your phone was located near the crime. Like that's happened numerous times. Well, this avoids that situation. Completely avoids it. Now, there is one drawback to this is that at this point, what I've described so far, you do not have an SMS texting or a phone number. So, you just don't have a phone number that works like a regular phone call phone number. So two things you can do for that. You can either just keep your existing phone with your phone number on it that works with the cell towers, and to protect your privacy, put that phone in a Faraday bag that our sponsor, the Satellite Phone Store, they sell the bags for the phones. It's called dark bags, SAT123.com. So you just stick your regular phone in that bag, and then the cell towers can't even talk to it until you pull it out of the bag. Right? So that can be your regular phone for regular phone calls that you don't need to keep private or anything. And then you have this other Degoogled phone with the private chats, Forta, the eSIM that's not tied to your name, etc. That's for the more sensitive stuff that you're doing. Which, and just to be clear, I'm not encouraging anybody to do unlawful things. I don't support, whatever, smuggling, trafficking, nothing like that. I'm just saying that privacy is a right, and you can be completely innocent, doing something totally innocent, and you can be swept up and even accused of a crime just because of your phone's proximity to a crime that happened that you didn't commit. You can be assumed to be guilty just because your phone was there. I'm just trying to help you avoid that. And also, you may have personal conversations, you may have business conversations, you may have investment conversations that are nobody's business. The government doesn't have the right to spy on all your conversations. They will through regular SMS text, and they can lean on, Telegram to hand over the decryption keys for your channel if you use Telegram. I don't know the status of Signal. I don't know if they can lean on Signal and get your messages. Maybe not. I just don't know. But I know that with Forta.chat, they cannot get your messages because there's no decryption keys held by any corporation. So if you believe in your right to privacy because you're doing nothing wrong, because privacy is a fundamental human right, and you don't have to be guilty of something in order to demand your privacy, then this is the combination that absolutely works. Again, Forta.chat is the app. Works through browsers, and it has a downloadable app for Android, plus the Degoogled phone from Above Phone, plus the eSIM that you buy through privacy.com. And you don't use your real name or your real address with that virtual credit card number. And then if you keep your real phone, your other phone with your phone number, you just use a Faraday bag to protect that, so it's not always registering with the cell towers as you're driving around town. And also, if you want another level of privacy, satellite phones are really private because they never check in with the cell towers. So, of course, the satellite phone store has the satellite phones, SAT123.com. So this is like a privacy stack. This is a solution for you. This is how you can communicate privately, securely, with people in other countries. You might be getting tips from a journalist or something, or you might be a journalist and you're getting tips from somebody in industry or somebody in the military or whatever, or somebody in Wall Street. You need a secure way to get information and to talk to this person. Forta.chat is the way to do that. And Degoogled phones are the way to do that also. And, anonymous eSIMs are the way to do that. So you're not going to see a lot of information about this publicly because the people who know this information normally don't talk about it. But they do tell their friends. Typically, they will tell someone, usually in a private conversation, about these secrets. Well, I'm sharing it with you because you're my audience. I think you deserve to know. You have the right to privacy. And these tools are available right now. It's not illegal to do this. In fact, it's probably your obligation. It's not illegal and it's not unethical. In fact, this is fully aligned with morality and ethics and the fundamental value or the rights of privacy that are enumerated in the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution, such as the Fourth Amendment or the Fifth Amendment for that matter. So you have the right to privacy. This is the way to exercise it using today's best technology. So take advantage of it. And if you'd like more tips and information from yours truly here, you can follow me at brightvideos.com. And you can also read my articles and see my very popular infographics at naturalnews.com. So check it all out. Thank you for listening. Take care.
Decentralized, got to realize, don't decarbonize. Decentralized, decentralized.
Welcome to today's episode of Decentralized TV. I'm Mike Adams, and you're going to love today's episode because we're talking about secure, decentralized communications, a private chat that's even more private than the other apps you may have heard about, Telegram or Signal or whatever. This is something that is like a quantum leap achievement above all of that. And we are here to talk to one of the key people who has helped bring this to reality. Now, of course, I'm joined by my co-host and show co-partner. I can I give you that title, Todd? But welcome, Todd.
Hey, you can call me anything you want, Mike. What? Just not late for dinner.
Okay. Well, what do you think about today's topic? I mean, isn't this so critical for our time to have really secure, anonymous communication? Yeah.
You mean one day all my messages aren't going to be discovered by somebody I don't want discovered? Mike?
Right. This now, we're going to bring in our guest here shortly, but his previous project is Bastion.
Yeah.
BASTYON.com. And then, of course, we have used the Bastion code to power Brighteon.io for years now, which is a decentralized blockchain-driven communication network or social media network that is it's almost impossible to censor anybody on that system. There is a community voting system to censor, egregious abusers, but there's no centralized authority to censor anyone. Anyway, Now they have something new called Forta Chat, and we're going to talk about that today, and I think it's a breakthrough. So let's welcome Daniel Sachkov. Welcome to the show, Daniel. It's great to have you back on.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Todd. Hi, everyone. Good to be back.
It's good to see you again. You were a guest on one of our very first episodes of this show. Now here we are a few years later. The show has really exploded in popularity and reach, and we wanted to have you back on to talk about your key technology and your new tech, Forta Chat, because we think it's absolutely critical, and it's a great example of decentralized technology to help people protect their privacy and their anonymity. So you want to tell us about Forta Chat and Bastion, like whatever order you want.
Yeah, I mean, Bastion, I think we've covered. You can just have a previous episode. We'll focus on Forta because I think it's very timely. But the main idea between Bastion is this, and this is a new internet that is based on some principles that cannot be compromised. It's open source, non-corporate, anonymous. Those are key pillars. And I'll briefly explain that the reason those cannot be compromised is that most people think that freedom of speech is just like about having good people run things. And that's true to a large degree, but ultimately, if you're running something, you cannot rely on a person because if it's a corporate entity, there's going to be a board of directors, there's going to be investors, there's going to be a way to make it play. And so initially, the ground rule for all the projects within the Bastion ecosystem is that it has to be open source, non-corporate, in a public domain with one of the licenses that are highly permissible, and anonymous. That's another thing that, because if you allow people freedom, but let them speak so that they can be connected to their identity, that's a time bomb. And I will briefly say that, Mike, I follow your work. I know you deal a lot with AI, its consequences, its opportunities. Well, I think that you know better than me, but I will restate that a reason for appearance of the Forta Chat is because while most people understand the danger to freedom of speech now, I think that's clear. And Bastion is meant to solve that problem along with other projects. But not a lot of people understand a much bigger danger looming, which is basically total surveillance. And It sounds like sci-fi, but what people don't understand, and you do, but I will restate it, that all of these data centers that are being built out, for some reason people think that this is to power ChatGPT or to power Opus or write programming code. Well, it's not true. You can run very large, very, very effective programming models and very effective ChatGPT-like models on a much smaller, it's a fraction of the compute that they're building, okay? They're building these data centers for one reason only, to accept huge amounts of information, particularly video information, through 5G networks, ingest it, and make decisions in real time about you, about your children. So one of the biggest dangers there is that you have a history of personal messages where this could be WhatsApp, this could be Telegram. I mean, Signal is a little bit, I think, safer in many ways, but it still ties you to a phone number, to my understanding, and it's not open source. But it is stronger than others. So, but most people will have messages in Telegram or WhatsApp or one of the social media. What they don't understand is that when this data grid starts working and they're able to ingest these messages and connect it to your passport, it's game over. This is like things that you said 5 years ago in private conversations will be used against you. If you're not worried, they're going to be used against your children when they try to enter college or get a job. And the person, the person could say to your kid or to you, is like, you know what, you can't be accepted this, you can't get this loan, you can't get this job. They will not know why. It's just going to flash on the screen that there's some problem and they cannot do it. But ultimately, it's because this data grid they're building out, it's able to, to analyze massive amounts of data. So
yes,
the biggest danger.
And hold on. So, and I hear from a lot of Americans, but China is always spying on you. But what you're describing is coming to America. It's already happening in the UK. It's in parts of Europe. It's coming to Canada, Australia, New Zealand, etc. We're all going to be extremely surveilled. And like you said, everything we've ever said in a private chat can be used against us. Now, let me mention, Forta.chat is the website, okay? Forta.chat. Now, what I love about Forta is that when you sign up, you don't use an email address and you don't use a phone number. So it's never tied, and you don't use your name. It's never tied to anything that is identified as you. Instead, you get a seed phrase. You have a seed phrase and a username. That seed phrase is essentially your password to that account. But it is completely anonymous other than that. So talk to us, Daniel, about why you chose this structure for Forta, which is actually very similar to the structure of Bastion. I mean, it's the same.
Well, it's even more important than in Bastion, because if you think about freedom of speech, right, there is a problem, but ultimately most people that will speak up, they kind of, I don't want to say they're fearless, but they're already opened up, right? I speak publicly about what I do. You certainly said a lot of things, so you know the consequences, but it's much more important that people who are, like basically communities of people are not targeted because of what they said in a private conversation or in a public conversation for that matter. So it was really important to create a chat like that because there is no messenger. Well, there are some, they're not very well developed. We wanted to create a real alternative to Telegram, to WhatsApp, to all these messengers, but that actually can do all these things, but is not tied to your identity. That's really crucial. And another crucial distinction that is above and beyond Bastion itself is peer-to-peer encryption. In other words, the encryption that happens in Forta chat is completely peer-to-peer, meaning that all of the math for encrypting is done on a device of a person sending the message. And all of the math of decrypting is done only on the device of a recipient. That does not happen anywhere else. Forta chat stores 0 keys on the server. You cannot say that about Telegram, WhatsApp, or even Signal. Signal does store your keys on the server. While they are encrypted on the server, okay, you can think that every snapshot of the Signal server for sure is used by all of the, intelligence, police, whatever, whoever, right? Whomever, I don't know, ADL, I don't know. Later, when there's more powerful computers and more powerful AI, they will break the encryption. They will take your keys. That's all. So it's not only about encryption. It's about where you actually store the keys. Forta, it takes a principled stand, and the keys are only on the device, like you said, with that seed phrase, and all of the math happens. There's something called Diffie-Hellman handshake where keys are exchanged. This is all happens with your Bastion keys. It's derived. There's certain kind of math. It's open. I wrote the math. And it uses very strong encryption methods. It's published. And ultimately, that's really important because it's not connected to your identity and keys are never shared. So in other words, to break something, they have to break your device. And that's hard. I mean, it's not centralized. To get 1 million people, you have to break 1 million devices. It's just not it's not realistic.
So Todd, you are only now being introduced to Forta chat. I invited you to join. I think you set up a username so far.
Yep.
Wasn't that a super easy process?
Yeah, it's very, very simple. And everybody, just back to my crypto days, Mike, when you are setting up your Forta chat, write down the seed words. Don't take a screenshot or copy them and paste them anywhere on your surveillance devices, right?
Yeah.
But so is Forta fully decentralized? Is it federated or a hybrid?
Well, so it basically what we did was, just like in a lot of other projects, we used building blocks. So there's something called matrix chat that probably a lot of people in the open source space are familiar with. Matrix chat is open sourced. However, the one thing we completely redid is their encryption. Not that their encryption is completely weak. It has been kind of compromised a little bit in the past, but ultimately matrix chat encryption schema it relates to others because it stores keys on the server. So we did a tremendous amount of work rewriting all of the encryption. But ultimately there is a matrix behind it, and matrix is the federated system. So you can bring up your own home servers and so on. Where actually one thing that is coming soon is that, on Bastion, we have a desktop application that we talked about on the other show for Bastion, for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Well, soon there will be ability from that application to launch a mini server for you and your friends. In other words, that's like an extra level, if you really, because right now there are servers federated. Your messages obviously are stored on the server, not the keys, but the messages are encrypted with the keys that are only yours. So it is as safe as could be. If you want to go the extra layer, you can actually spin up your server, and soon we'll make it click, 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 kind of a wizard where you spin up a server for you and your friends. You're still part of your network, but all your communications are on your server. Now they're completely out of reach for anybody. So I really believe that people underestimate the threat from surveillance of personal messaging for the past, the future, because when you're not able to write a personal message freely with what you think, I think that's the end. I think after that, any kind of fighting against the system or any kind of resistance is just not possible. That's why it's much more important than even having censorship-free video and so on, which is important, because ultimately, if when they do that, masses of people will be completely under the thumb. And I believe that there should be more applications like this. I'm surprised there are not, but with Forta Chat, this was a lot of work. This was years of work that we put in here. And finally, we're comfortable to make a big launch. There's actually an Android application as well. You can download to your Android device. I'll give you a link to GitHub where you can get it, but it's not just on GitHub. We're not relying on GitHub. There's going to be a separate page, but you can, for any Android device, you can download Forta Chat. It has additional things that nobody else has. For example, Forta Chat has built-in levels of overcoming network censorship. Network censorship, when certain servers or types of traffic are blocked in certain countries. And Forta Chat has built-in Tor protocol with Snowflake, those people who know, with a lot of different things. So it actually checks if there's throttling and we're not able to get through. It turns on different layers of Tor Snowflake. It tries different bridges to get your communication through.
Wow.
Because that's another risk, is where you have this decentralized private messenger, but then there's like disruption on the internet and you're not able to connect with people. So we're doing everything we can to, so really Forta Chat is like next level up from Bastion. It has many more things that Bastion does not.
And could Forta continue functioning during regional internet disruptions or domain blocking?
Well, yeah, certainly domain blocking, certainly if internet is completely down, nothing will function. By the way, and this is not to be meant as a feature that's coming soon, but I am working on kind of a project where Forta Chat is connected to Meshtastic Radio. You probably heard of that. I'm sure you guys know. So where if you can connect with Forta to Meshtastic and continue to communicate, as long as one person anywhere has internet, they will serve as the relay. But that's probably like 6 to 12 months out. I'm just saying that we are thinking about different kinds of scenarios with Forta. We believe it's not meant to be just like a pure clone, it's like Telegram. Yes, it is like WhatsApp or Telegram, but with privacy and so on. But it has other features. Like one of the features that's actually coming within 1 month, and you will appreciate this, Mike, is that in addition to chats with your friends and groups and channels and Bastion, because channels and Bastion automatically pull into Forta. So your subscriptions, you can view them in Bastion or in Forta, it's like equivalent. But there's going to be another tab, which is called Local AI Assistance. What I'm building is a series of local compact models that are specialists, and like one model is a survival. The one I'm working on now is a survival specialist. Cool. Another model will be repair, like a car repair, the electronics repair specialist. And what you'll be able to do is go into Forta Chat. As long as you have internet now, you can download this model. And then even without the internet, you'll have unlimited use of that assistant. The models will be based on, there'll be like a one central model, like a Quen model, and a lot of adapters, LoRa adapters, which are basically into a modern smartphone. You will fit in a lot of assistance. So if there's a regional like complete internet disruption, right? You're not going to be able to message at that point, but you will still have a whole other functionality. So Forta is kind of multidimensional. We envision it as a a store, a kind of a app store for local AI models that you can run inference on mobile device. And I know, Mike, you have local models too. So once this is released, we'll open it up. And as a user thing, like for me, this is massive because even when I don't have internet, even just on the plane, I have access to all kinds of knowledge. It's like internet without internet.
See, that is of special interest to me, what you just said. This is the first time I'm hearing this, because I've always believed the same thing, that people need a Noah's Ark of knowledge that works locally, offline, and practical knowledge, survival, repair, natural medicine, emergency medicine, etc., food production, food preservation. Perhaps, Daniel, I might be able to contribute to that. We could talk offline, but I have a very large corpus of normalized, clean data sources, and also my book engine has created over 70,000 books, many of which are how-to books that can be used as kind of a RAG layer or a context enhancement layer, a knowledge-based layer for those LoRa adapters. So we should talk offline about that. I'd be happy to
Absolutely.
contribute.
I followed your work on that, and your health model I recommended it to many people. So
Cool.
I know that you're very well advanced in that. So the thing that I think that it's both using we could collaborate on your NOAA knowledge base, but also you could even create your own model that we could adapt for this device, because the way it's going to work, and you know what this is, but it's going to have like a Llama CPP inference engine. So any model in a certain format, which is called GGUF format, with an adapter, will work as long as there's enough memory. So all we have to do is make sure these models are compact enough, and there'll be unlimited numbers. So you go into your messages, these are your friends. You go into your groups, these are your groups. You go into your channels, these are the channels. But when you go into AI, you could have dozens and dozens of assistants, and you search out, I want an assistant that does this. And it's really important for me. I download it, take room on the device, but now I have unlimited free use of it.
Very, very cool. And are you thinking of models around like 3 billion parameters or 7 billion? Is that too large? What do you have in mind?
There's going to be a few versions, and the Forta chat will actually look at the device and say, well, this device you can handle, 3. I mean, it makes no sense to go below 3.5 billion or so. Right. That's the base Quen model, because it really deteriorates the quality below that. But if it's a modern device, it will suggest, hey, we have a 7 billion model that will do a little bit better.
For sure. Okay. And one thing, I also want to mention some of the features for people. Forta chat also supports audio messaging, so you can record an audio clip, send it to your group or your friends. And then there's a call. There's a video call feature, which I have not tried. I'm a little bit skeptical of the bandwidth and everything, but I just want to mention those features. Go ahead, Todd, and then we'll come back to Daniel.
Yeah, I know that if you have an Android, you can download the Forta chat app. What about iPhones?
Well, if you have an iPhone, you're basically carrying a sensitive surveillance agent in your pocket, and there's not a whole lot we could do. Apple will never allow such application. They allowed a highly limited version of Bastion after many, many years.
Okay.
So you have to ditch Apple, Todd, is the answer.
Well, let me say that. Maybe there's a miracle. We did submit it. Maybe they will. I don't know. My guess is they'll come back with you have to change these 200 things. And we'll see. But yeah. And for audio and video, I would say that it's important to know that when you're using audio and video in, let's say, Telegram or WhatsApp, you have to remember that they always go through their servers.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I can't tell you for sure that's being recorded, but it would be very strange if they didn't, given everything else they do. With Bastion, all of the audio and video is straight WebRTC. It's an encrypted tunnel only between you and the person. It may use like a server, like a special turn server sometimes, but it never passes through some kind of centralized Bastion server.
Right.
It's purely encrypted, so it's secure communication as well. And I've heard feedback from people in countries where it's very hard to use video calling that it works, and then the quality is quite high. Now, is it 100% reliable? I would say at this point it's closer to like 95, 97%. We're working on it. But when it does work, it works beautifully and it's highly secure.
That's awesome.
Do you need Pcoin for Forta chat?
No, it's just an option, by the way. That is another option in Forta chat, which I think will change a lot because we're seeing basically division of the world into technates, right? Into different, completely isolated blocks that where people can communicate or can send money. In Forta, there's just a very simple button to send pocket coin, Pcoin, to anybody in the world. So this is, I think, another really important thing, some economic sovereignty, because right now I know I have friends in many countries how difficult it is to get the money around. Yes, there's crypto, you can do crypto, but the problem for many people with crypto is there's a learning curve. You have to have a wallet, you have to know the address, you have to pick a network. Whereas in Bastion, there's none of that. You just click the amount and you send, and you are sure that you sent it to this person without any knowledge of like hashes, transactions. It serves as a wallet embedded into the messenger.
But how do people then ramp that into something they can spend?
Well, you can sell pocket coin on exchanges. That's the least ideal way. But also we have peer-to-peer exchange of pocket coin in Bastion. That's the second way. And the third way, where, some time ago, like 2 years ago, we introduced a platform called Barteron. Unfortunately, it didn't really take off in a lot of places because people tend to think that, well, it's cheaper in the supermarket. Why would I buy from a farmer or from somebody who makes things, right? But really now, if you go into Europe, in the States, not so much yet. I'm hoping that will change. But in Europe, in some of Russia, we checked in some areas of Russia, you can live on pocket coin. You can buy honey, you can buy food, you can repair a car for pocket coin directly.
Wow.
That's the Barteron platform. Unfortunately, like I said, I think that whether it's my failure to explain, but it's not taken off the degree I thought this Barteron system. I think a lot of it is, some of it I have to accept the blame, but some of it is that people tend to think that, relying on a supermarket is okay. But what you're doing is you're feeding a system that will shut you down, turn you off at the worst possible moment.
Right.
And they're not supporting the producers. And so the answer to your question, Todd, is you can off-ramp in the normal crypto ways, but my hope is that people forget all of that and just use pocket coin, use it as a barter, use it as money.
How do you acquire
in that particular? Yeah.
How do you acquire the Pcoin then, Daniel?
Well, you can acquire it in a multi ways. Again, you can buy in the normal crypto ways, but also, like for example, we have a platform where if you are in Bastion for a while and you publish content, you just get weekly pocket coin rewards, and they're not huge, but they're not trivial. Certainly, much more than a lot of other places. So, be an active content creator. Even if you don't have a lot of reach, you will get pocket coin. And lastly, if we think of the Barteron system as something that is really, really important for the future, and I do, then what you can think about is, well, what can I sell for pocket coin, right? What services I can provide? And go in there. Now, the problem with these systems, as you know, always, it's a two-way platform, a 2 or 3-way platform. It requires a lot of buyers and sellers at once. That's the problem. Yeah. And they have to be in one place. Creating that concentration usually requires a lot of money. With Bastion, obviously, it's a decentralized project, but again, it is surviving. There is stuff on there. I've bought stuff on Barteron for pocket coin in different countries. Like I know in Germany, you can buy food and some of these things probably will be legal in the EU soon. But my hope is that the end of the loop, your question is really important, Todd. That's why I won't get off of this topic, because you raised like a really important point. In the end, this has to close the loop in the real world, right? I have to eat, I have to feed my family or whatever. How do I do that? And really the barrier, yes, there's a lot of barriers that these, banksters put up and all this stuff. But ultimately, I think the final barrier is that people tend to delay. They even when they understand, they think, well, I'm just going to continue to do the supermarket thing, the Amazon thing. And when the time comes, when the X day will come, I will all of a sudden, become this like decentralized warrior, where it doesn't work like that. Because if you are not part of it today, you're not supporting the producers. You're not part of the system doesn't survive. So it's kind of a tragedy of the commons of sorts, that dilemma in economics where people rely on others, but ultimately we will prevail only if we do this together at the same time, not one by one. Like right now, it's more like a group of people gets excited, they do it for a while, and then they wither away and fall off, and then another group comes. Well, of course, the first group isn't there already, so there are not enough people for it to really take off. And
Well,
I'm looking
as-
for that moment. I'm trying to advocate
Daniel-
for it, and I know you are too. But so I still have hope. But I think that people, by and large, haven't adopted these systems to the degree that is needed to really check the power.
There's a lot of convenience for people in the existing centralized systems, as you're well aware. But I happen to think that we're approaching an era of many real breakdowns of centralized systems or much higher risk of surveillance. And so I think that there's going to be a natural movement towards your systems like Barteron as the existing systems become extremely difficult to use or are breaking down. Or, for example, there may be a day soon where you have to purchase groceries, or let's say the government offers a universal basic income. All right, so here's free money for you because AI is taking your job, and you can use this to buy groceries. But you can't enter the grocery store and use that card if you said something bad on social media, right? So those kinds of dynamics are going to come into play. People are like, wait, screw that.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go into Barteron. I'm going to find a local farmer. I'm going to buy some eggs with P-coin. Like, these things are going to happen naturally. I think our job is to let more and more people know that this exists, and conditions will change. The environment will change. It'll create more incentives. Now, with that said, right now, Forta.chat is the website that we want to encourage people to go to and use. And the thing is, there's no fee. There's no fee. It's completely free to use. So, Daniel, how on earth do you plan to, continue to fund this? Or eventually, will you ask people to pay P-coin or something else in order to use it?
No, I don't think that's needed. And the Bastion has existed at this point since 2018. So it's not like I think it's at any risk, and it withstood many difficult times. Right
Yes.
now, there are enough users, there are enough supporters, and of course, one of the things that I believe, like my job is, I don't write the code by and large, right? I do some of the design math and algorithms, but even there, my role is more to make sure that community works in such a way so as to not require huge amounts of money. So then there are people, not necessarily to be named right now, that come in and help tremendously. It does, in the world of like social media and banking, it's not huge money, but let's say it's like $50,000, but it changes everything because it's a community project and it's so lean. And there are so many people doing a lot of things for motivations other than economic reasons. So I think that the community is well established. There's no risk, even if tomorrow, like it survived the crypto crash, which affected, of course, a lot of the crypto community and pocket coin.
Yes.
But it is solid to last for many, many years with no additional funding. If the funding comes, it just means that there'll be more stuff done. And I mean, honestly, I do everything I can. I put money into that project myself, and other people also put in their efforts to see it succeed. So, and we're kind of like you in a way. We're really not of the opinion that we have to technologically surrender to them, meaning that, let's not use AI, let's not use this. I think that so-called AI, it's not intelligence, of course, but it's like the most powerful weapon ever developed. It's really a double-edged sword. It really, if we pick it up and use it, it can actually work for us at a fraction of the cost. And we're using that. I mean, it's changed like Forta chat. I think that the reason we were able to finally finish it is using a lot of the modern neural networks. And we're using our local models, sometimes Chinese providers and so on. So I think that while people tend to focus on how bad and how much worse it's getting all the time, what you're not realizing is that right in front of you, there are like all kinds of gold and weapons just lying around. Skills that you need
I'm
to
right
pick
there with
up.
you.
And I know, I mean, I watch your show, but when I'm, for Bastion, one of the reasons is more solid than ever is that a good developer now can do the work of 10 people.
100%.
we can focus on mass surveillance that they do, or we can pick up this weapon and build stuff. And Forta chat is an example. I mean, building a messenger is the most difficult. It's far more complicated than building a social media platform. And I know a lot of programmers. I have a friend who runs like a huge outsourcing company. I went to him with this messenger thing like years ago. I said, look, in Bastion, we have great developers. They're not going to be able to handle it. He said, I'll give you one lesson for life. Never touch messenger projects. This is the, like, don't do it. And this guy has like a lot of developers, and he's like, I'm not going to touch it. And I tell you to forget it. You will never build it. This is not your Bastion. This is not your Barteron. Messenger is the most complicated thing. That breaks like in a million ways. And he was right. We tried it for years with our resources. It would always be inadequate. But then when we really modernized our development methods, we're able to finish it in 6 months.
Wow. See, you and I are both the same. So we will use the AI tools that are available right now. I'm doing, code all the time. Like I have a tape backup system to back up all this massive corpus of, of science content that we have. I had to rewrite. I had to write my own tape iSCSI drivers and tape backup systems from scratch. I had to vibe code it over a period of weeks because there was literally nothing out there that would work with these high capacity LTO tapes. But Daniel, I have to ask you, the French government kidnapped Pavel Durov to force him to hand over keys for certain accounts that their law enforcement wanted to monitor. And I believe he agreed that he did that in order to win his freedom. I mean, they kidnapped him off of an airplane, Yeah. Now that's because Telegram is, widely popular, right? It's huge user base. So obviously it's a big target, but are you ever concerned that authorities will try to threaten or coerce you into some kind of similar arrangement? And what have you built into the system that is resistant? Even if you wanted to go along with it, I think you built systems that wouldn't allow you to.
Yeah, and I am human, and from the beginning, I realized that there's always a way to make like a human being play with the game. I mean, very few people can withstand everything. I'm certainly not. I hope I would, but that's not the point. Pavel Durov, I think, is a genius. I think he has a lot of good intentions and done a lot of good things, but ultimately his platform is built in such a way that he's sitting on all this data. And this data on hundreds of millions of people is very badly needed for those that want to take it from him. Now, will they have compassion on him? I mean, it's a rhetorical question. So my thought is that the way it was built from the beginning is that there's nothing I have. I have no keys. I have no data. Really, all I have is kind of my reputation and my knowledge to drive the project. So, of course, that won't stop them. They may be just vindictive and want to hurt me. And, all they're going to do by that is make Bastion more popular, but they can't hurt it because the system is decentralized, becoming more decentralized over time. And the nodes that run the social network are on, there are hundreds of nodes across all countries in the world. You'd have to shut all of them down. When FortaChat launches, it will start with a limited number of home servers, but once we open up there's already ability now. We can make it technically easier to launch your own server. There are going to be hundreds of chat servers that you're going to go across all countries in the world. So it's kind of a strategy where, it's really hard to shoot machine guns at butterflies, right? We try to be like butterflies.
Right.
So yes, I'm like a big fat target talking about it, but it's not really, there's no profit, In Russia, there's a proverb. It's like basically trying to get fur from a pig. There's a lot of squealing, but not a lot of fur. So that's the way, I don't want to compare myself to a pig, but that's kind of the way it will be.
But that's all by design. So, yeah, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah.
If you ever travel to France, be careful because they wear these red hats over there that says "Make waterboarding great again," and I don't want them to capture you.
Yeah.
So, what is?
I think I realized that when I saw that what was happening. I made my last trip to France.
Yeah.
I went to Notre Dame, Saint-Chapelle. I went up to Eiffel Tower, and that was it. That was the last time. So
Good.
yes, I'm fully aware of the vindictiveness and pettiness. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Daniel, what has proved harder building decentralized technology or convincing ordinary people to actually use it?
But no match. Convincing the people, and I kept trying to wordsmith my metaphors. How do I, because I tend to think myself, I like rhetoric, I very much like philosophy, especially Stoic philosophy, and not just moral Stoic philosophy, but Stoics have basically a huge theory of language, which actually explains a lot of the power behind what's called AI. So I tend to think that I, convince people, but one of the best things I think I came up with is that, hey, you think it's cheaper to do it centralized, right? But actually the most expensive cheese is in a mousetrap. You just pay after, and you pay with everything.
Right.
So, and even that people will nod. Like, I'll give you an example with Barteron. I thought that the Barteron was a no-brainer. Like a no-brainer for people who have a little, because usually, like, I went to businessmen who do have foresight, who do manage risks. They have to think about those risks. And yet, like, example, case in point is Russia, right? I know a lot of people that I'm Russian by birth, and I am Russian, but I'm an American citizen. But I do know people there, and I try to convince them. I said, businessmen, you have to decentralize your distribution. And yes, they have these companies in Russia you probably know called Wildberries and Ozon. They do delivery. It's like a delivery logistics centers.
Yes,
And
they've been getting hit by drones, man.
Exactly. For years, I told him. Now I speaking to my friend the other day. He said it's not a huge business. He said I lost 100,000 euro worth of stuff. I said, but I thought you said it was cheap. I thought you said Wildberries was the cheap way to do business. Actually, I told you it's the most expensive way to do business. Mm-hmm. You would have been better off going to Barteron, because Barteron has these distribution points run by normal people for businesses. So they're very decentralized.
Decentralized, right. Not a target.
They're not even on the map so much. And if you used it, you would probably spend a few thousand euro extra over years, and yet you would be 100,000 euro better off. But people tend to not look for it. And even paradoxically, we not just regular people who tend to live day to day, but people who are supposed to have foresight, very smart people in other ways, they will emotionally not want to do it until something bad happens. And at that point, it might be too late.
Yeah. Wow. See, that's why your technology is the perfect fit for the show. It's also why I embraced your tech years ago, once I've understood it. And I've been an advocate of it ever since, and we use your technology to power Brighteon.io ever since. And now I'm an advocate of Forta Chat. And I do have one question. Is there, I'm wondering if I could use it as an emergency broadcast system, one-to-many, where I could have many, many members follow an account that I publicize, but I can only talk to them. They can't post on that channel. So I could use it as an emergency broadcast. Is that a structure that's possible within Forta?
It's actually already there. So your channels that you run already on Brighteon.io and your other Brighteon video channels, which I watch, all those channel subscribers, when they go to Forta, they receive your broadcast in Forta. So if they have Forta Chat with Tor, and I mean, ultimately, if all internet is down, no. But even if there is severe censor, let's say tomorrow, they'll block all of the internet and say only 5 sites are available, CNN, Fox, whatever propaganda you want to eat. And then they say, we'll limit the number of services. In most of those situations, Forta will continue to work. People will get your posting in your channel, and you don't need to open a new channel. It's the same channel in Bastion. And they don't need, by the way, for Forta, if you already have Bastion, you don't need a new key. You take your key from Bastion, you log into Forta, all your subscriptions and subscribers will follow you.
Okay, so I need to do that step next then. I'll try that this evening.
I mean, I'm subscribed to your channels.
Yeah.
I get them in Forta right now. They come into my Forta tab.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know that. I will try that out and see if I can make that work. Sounds like it's going to be easy. I'll just use that seed phrase to log in as the same account that I've been posting on Brighteon.io.
Yeah, I'll send you a screen in a little bit. Like right now, I went to my Forta chat, and I have personal messages, which I'm not going to show, But number 5 is Health Ranger post that says genetic assault on your cells, tech privacy and local AI with Hakeem.
Yeah, I posted that. Yeah, a couple hours ago.
It's in my Forta chat in my feed on the top.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm subscribed to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, hey, okay, that's solved.
And that's from like 2 hours ago, I think. Or something like that.
Exactly. I posted that before I came to the studio. Okay.
And even from Forta chat, I can rate it. There's a rating system for the post. I can actually give you a high rating so that it affects all of the presentation of your post in the Bastion ecosystem right from the Forta chat.
Wow. And by the way, thank you for allowing the technology so that I can post my infographics. You've probably seen some of my infographics, which they're normally like 2 megabytes, which is pretty big image, or 3 megabytes, whatever. And I understand that Bastion and Forta, they're optimized to try to really conserve bandwidth usage. But I appreciate the fact that I can post a pretty good size image and it gets propagated, because people love those images.
Yeah, I do. I've rated, put 5 stars to at least 3 of them in the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
Very cool.
The last one I saw was the flu shot, the kill shot. That was today or yesterday, right?
Yeah, I posted that last night, I think.
It was very convincing. And, I think that a lot of people are, I think it's a bit of an overstatement that we are visual learners, but it's true to some degree. And certainly when you want to share something, you'd rather share a picture than a text, unfortunately.
Well, I do it in every way I can. I'll have an infographic, I'll have a podcast, I'll have an article, I'll have a video. And of course, all those infographics are created with the help of AI engines. So, with good prompting. Oh,
and I understand you probably use local for those, because I can't imagine any Nano Banana allowing you to create a picture like that.
It's a combination. I have a local option if something like Nano Banana fails or rejects, which does happen. I have a local version. The thing is, the local version has to go through many iterations. It can take like 20 to 30 minutes to build an infographic because of all the fixes and everything. But I do have that running locally as a backup. Yeah.
Well, I think local models are getting better and better.
Absolutely.
I have a number. I have a Mac Studio with 256 gigs. I have DGX
good
Spark.
for you.
And right now I'm working on creating a cluster of 4 DGX Sparks.
Yep.
Which is not trivial. So I think that
you're right.
come like fall, we'll be able to be only a few percent behind the frontier models with local. And that's enough, because ultimately, if you know what you're doing, you're going to get more than those 5% or 10% you're behind.
Yeah. By the way, on those DGX Sparks, that supposed high-speed networking connection on the back, it's all jacked up. They didn't engineer it correctly. I ran into that just trying to connect two of them.
Maybe that's why I'm having problems when you to talk.
You're major. I actually documented this. I posted about it. There is a very specific major architectural problem with the way they integrated that with the CPU bandwidth. It's nowhere near the gigabit throughput that is claimed on the spec. It's like 1/20th of that. So anyway, talk about that off camera, but I'm not happy with the DGX Spark for that very reason. Look, we're almost out of time, so I want to go back to Todd. And Todd, we're about to dive into like super tech geek world here right now. So save us. How would you? Yeah.
Well, I just have one last question. I'm just intrigued with this France talk. Has any government ever contacted you, attempted to identify users, or tried to block or get you to have you give up your user base?
No, I think partly because I speak so much about what they can and cannot get from me. But what I do get is a lot of people posing in different ways, trying to kind of make personal connections and become part of the team to learn the team members.
Infiltration, man.
They leave when we realize that we use the same anonymous communications that we advertise. So like they're not gonna get, they join a group and they see nicknames and they hang out for a while and then they leave. I'm like, okay, I know why you were here.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Well, that's funny because Todd, we've had on our Brighteon.com platform, which is separate from this, we've had governments like the German government demanding that we remove videos regarding history. Yeah, because it's not the version of history that they like.
Yeah.
And so, we just tell them to go F themselves, whatever. Because what else are you going to do with the German government or the French government for that matter? You're just going to tell them, no, we're Americans. We don't buy into your Western European crap. But anyway, we need to wrap this up. So Daniel, is there anything else that you would like to add here? Any other, websites you want to mention, or how can people use the tech? What's the best way?
Well, I think Forta.chat is the best way that you mentioned. You start with the website, but there is a link that I will send where you can download the Android Messenger, which I think is really important because in the Messenger, push notifications do matter. Okay, so the Android version is stable. We submitted it to Google, we'll see, but really it's not important because you have the APK file. Any Android phone can run Forta application with push notifications and everything right now. And you can select, for example, let's say you want to get push notifications from personal messages, but not from certain channels. You can control all that. It's not going to inundate you.
Yeah.
Soon, meaning within 1 week, there's going to be an app for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Forta chat applications for a computer.
I see.
It's better than the website. It's obvious that the websites are more controlled.
Right.
It has more ways to get around network problems. It will work in more kinds of situations. Functionality is the same. Okay. iPhone app, like I said, I'm not sure, but Android app and desktop apps, Android apps already out. Desktop apps are coming. So that's what you want really with the chat. Using it in a website can be introductory, but you're not going to get notifications, and that's what's going to stop people. So I definitely look below the video, and Mike will provide the link that I put into GitHub. Just take the .apk file, download from the GitHub site and from the Bastion site I give you, or from the Bastion site, and run it on your device. Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did here. This is a Degoogled phone from Above Phone, who's also a partner of ours. So in fact, just I think 2 days ago, I did exactly what you said. I went to the GitHub link. I got the APK, put the APK on here, ran it. It installed seamlessly. I logged in. Now I'm running Forta chat on a Degoogled phone, completely anonymously.
So do I. Yeah.
Yeah, and also this is running an eSIM that I also purchased through Above Phone. That's also completely anonymous as well. So, there's
very cool.
Yeah,
very cool technology. eSIM. I didn't get around to it, but I should find out more, and maybe we should promote it on Bastion. Your eSIM.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess we'd check with Hakeem. I don't know if it works worldwide, but in the United States, it certainly does.
I know there are that work worldwide.
There are some, yeah. We'd have to check with Hakeem on that. But anyway, folks, that's abovephone.com/Brighteon if you want to go check out those phones. And I'm also running a Linux laptop here from Above Phone. But anyway, the key is forta.chat. That's FORTA.chat. Create your account there, and you can follow my main Brighteon IO account, which I think is just Health Ranger. Isn't it? Are you seeing my account there, Daniel? Is it just Health Ranger?
Well, yes, it is Health Ranger, and I think it's the same, because in Forta, I don't see whether it was Brighteon IO or Bastion. I just see Health Ranger. I'm subscribed to Health Ranger, okay. And I have another channel of yours, I believe, Brighteon Official.
Okay. So Health Ranger is the one that people can follow there for all my posts.
Yeah.
I never have to re-log in, so I don't remember exactly which username I use.
Yeah, if you already subscribe to Health Ranger through Bastion or Brighteon IO, you go into Forta chat, you take your private key from Bastion in settings, put it in there in registration, you immediately see your subscriptions.
Okay. Wow. Perfect. All right. Well, we are going to encourage everybody to do that. I'll be talking about it on other shows and podcasts as well. So Daniel, I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing. And I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been really instructive.
Thank you, Mike, for all your support. I think that the big thing with you is that you have lots of energy. I think one of the problems, for whatever reason, is people have a lot of good intentions, but don't have energy or staying power and fall away, and I try to fight that in me.
That's the smoothie energy
Yeah,
right there,
exactly.
man.
It's all
Nutrition.
helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you have a lot of energy too. And, look, more and more people are going to find out about this because the surveillance grid is really cracking down on all of us. So anonymous, decentralized communication that's truly private is critical at this point. So you built the system that does it, and I think a lot of people are going to learn about it. So thank you, Daniel.
Great, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, Daniel. And my wife is Russian, so I can say "paka."
Пока.
Paka. Paka. Does that mean bye?
Goodbye.
Bye. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Well, now I learned a Russian word today. We'll be right back after this break, folks, with the after party, which is an abbreviated after party for today because of some time limitations we have. But we'll be right back after this break. Todd and I will for a quick discussion. Thank you for watching. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you'd like to help support us, check out all of the affiliate deals I put together for you at rangerdeals.com. And if you go there, you'll see I've done due diligence on all of these affiliates. There's really not that many, but we have partners like Battalion Metals, co-founded by Tucker Carlson, Nessa's Organic CBDA Hemp Extract, Above Phone Models that are Degoogled phones, Red Life, here's the peptide company, Limitless, Petmectin, and so much more, including the Satellite Phone Store, VP.net. And for almost all of these, you can use discount code RANGER here, or sometimes it's something else like Brighteon 50, but normally the discount code is RANGER, which will save you something on these deals. Now, we do earn a little bit off of these affiliate deals, but it's no additional cost to you, and it helps support our platform and our work for humanity, including our AI projects that offer free open source knowledge in multiple languages. You can check those out at brightlearn.ai and brightanswers.ai. So thank you for supporting us. Check out rangerdeals.com anytime you want to save money on really high-end products and solutions that I personally endorse. I'm Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. Thanks for watching. All right, welcome to the after party. So Todd, hey, what a great topic today, and like really practical tools for people.
Yeah, Daniel is just amazing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Talk about somebody giving a gift to humanity.
I know.
Right?
I know, because he's not earning any substantial money
ROI
from this. No.
Right. Right.
The whole thing is free.
It's literally a gift.
Yeah.
So everybody should go sign up and let's all start figuring this out together.
Completely agree. So this technology is, it should be embraced by everyone that wants to protect their privacy. I think this is going to take off. And I hadn't heard anybody talking about it.
Up until last night.
Until I actually just found it on their website.
Wow.
I was looking to install Bastion and I was like, what's this Forta thing? And I checked it out. And that's the only way I found out about it. So that's why I invited Daniel on, because more people need to know about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is Forta intended to replace Bastion's earlier chat functionality, I presume?
I think it's parallel. Forta is its own standalone, dedicated chat with voice messaging and calling.
Right.
So in the Bastion social media system, there's no calling and there's no voice messaging type of thing, right?
Yeah. Like with Signal, Telegram.
I think of Forta as just a straight up replacement for Signal.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Signal's great, by the way. I don't have anything against Signal. Signal
this is an additional
it's
layer.
not end-to-end encrypted.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it isn't.
Yeah, and are the chats on Signal's servers?
They have to be.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they go through the servers. Yeah.
Theirs is the same issue as Telegram then, Signal's, right?
Right. And
so
you wonder which governments are leaning on Signal.
Right.
And saying, you have to give us backdoor access or, we'll prosecute you for cyber crimes or something.
Yeah. He's amazing. I just think that this weekend I'm going to get on there and I'm going to really start trying to figure it out. And I like your idea about with the UNA Telegram group, giving people the option. So I'm going to see about being able to not turn my back on Telegram, because that's with over 600 people in there, that I think that would be an issue. But for those people who choose to engage more privately, then I want to see if I can make that happen.
Yeah. And remember, the cool thing about Forta is that when you create an account, it is not tied to your phone number, your name, your email. Now, it asks you for a name.
Yep.
You can use any name you want. You know,
Fukoff, baby.
Master Fukoff. 1, 2, 3. You know.
By the way, Mike, there was a lightning bolt here, and I don't know if everything is frozen on my end. Can you still see me?
It's still good here. It's all good here.
Oh, good. Okay.
But we're getting rain here, so there might be some background rain sounds coming through. So lightning there, rain here.
Right.
Okay. Whatever. Just another day.
Just another day of weather modification or something.
Yeah, exactly. We can live with it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. No worries. Well,
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, just seeing the frozenness, I just wanted to double check and make sure that I was still with you. So
no, it's still working great.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you disappear, we'll plug in your avatar to say something crazy.
Oh man, Mike, I was thinking during all of that, the older I get, the more luxurious works without an interview connection sounds, right? I mean, everything that you're doing with your AI locally and such, all of the solutions that we're bringing to the table with Forta being the latest one, I mean, I just think are really important for people to not just consider, but actually go out and do.
Yeah, right.
That's it's like with the food force. After we interviewed Jim Gale, it was like, okay, that was cool, but in 3 years, my green grass keeping up with the Joneses isn't gonna feed me. So,
unless you love wheatgrass juice. Lawn grass juice, yeah.
Yeah, with Monsanto recipe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit of Roundup, gargle with it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Well, let me mention something coming up for our audience, because I've got a really great surprise to share.
Okay.
I'm working on a course that you may have heard me talking about this in my podcast.
Yes.
This is the most important information I think I've ever put together. And it's a course about genetic survival, how to make your DNA unbreakable in the age of spike protein shedding and also radioisotope fallout. And I've done a super deep dive into the nutritional approaches and some lifestyle choices that augment your natural DNA repair mechanisms, which are called things like NHEJ, HR, which is homologous recombination, BER, NER, etc. These mechanisms are totally normal and natural, but they're suppressed in the presence of spike protein, suppressed by up to 90%. Todd, that's why we are seeing turbo aging among a lot of influencers and celebrities right now, because if your genetic integrity isn't protected, you age much faster. Your cells are falling apart genetically.
Wow.
Also, that's why we're seeing turbo cancers, because if you can't fix the DNA lesions, which could be all kinds of things like, base pair mismatches, or what are called thymine dimers, or translocations, or whatever.
Yeah.
Your chromosomes start to fall apart. Your organs start to fall apart. You age and you get cancer rapidly, right?
Yeah.
So I'm about to present a free of charge course about the nutritional solutions for that. And
wow.
Yeah, and it's going to be a totally free course, by the way. And Todd, if you're okay with it, because it's free, I really would love, only if you're open to it, I'd love to do one dedicated Decentralized TV episode about this.
Of course. Of course.
Are you cool with that?
Oh my gosh. I look forward to it.
Okay.
Sure.
Then I will bring, like during that, I'll bring like samples of some of the foods
That
and
would be
nutrients
so
and things.
cool.
Yeah, wouldn't
Yeah.
it be?
Yeah.
Show people. And
Yeah. I
I'm
love it.
using AI to build all these infographics to explain the concepts of how,
Perfect.
like how DNA gets broken. You've heard the term double strand breaks, have you?
No.
DSBs. Well, like that's the worst kind of chromosomal break you can have. It's a complete severing of both strands. You know how DNA has two
Yep.
sides and it's all spiraled
Right.
together. Actually,
Yeah.
you know what? I have a DNA model over in the lab. I got to grab that. If you break both strands, like your chromosomes are screwed.
Mm.
That's called a double strand break. And that's caused by ionizing radiation. Or it can
Okay.
be, there's some other possible causes. It could be like a mismatch replication from a single strand break can become a double strand break. Anyway, you have a repair mechanism for that called non-homologous end joining, NHEJ. And your body, it's weird. It borrows a segment of DNA from another chromosome and uses that as a template and then fills in the other side of that. And it takes a guess at like what should be here. It's wild.
Wow.
It's like taking like giving an image to an AI model
Yeah.
and saying like, here's
Fill in the blank.
Here's a yeah, like put a green vase on the
Right.
table in the photo, right?
Yeah.
That's what your body does with DNA. It's like, something's wrong here. Like there's a total cutoff. What goes here? And your body takes a guess and it fills it in. It's not 100% error free, but it's usually error free. But the thing is, in order to do that, you have to have like enzyme cofactors. You have to have zinc. You have to have magnesium. You have to have cellular energy. You have to have these building blocks for the enzymes and so on that do this. And certain proteins that are involved. And if you don't have those things, you're just screwed. That cell dies, man.
Mike, as part of the program, will you be offering any kind of like daily regiment, recipe plan, whatever? Because, I follow you a lot and I see all of the infographics and you talk about a lot of different, whether it's fruits or berries or whatever. And at some point in time, I'm like, that's a good idea. I need to do that. I need to take that. I need to take this. But then it almost gets a little overwhelming to where I just kind of frustratingly think, damn, I just want a 7-day calendar of how I could prepare breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If I'm just saying as an FYI, just a 1 week daily plan for me to consider. Right.
Okay. Well, that's a great idea. That's a good suggestion. Since I haven't recorded the last 3 chapters, I could incorporate that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Because then I'd get excited about that. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this. I won't call it a detox plan, but it's kind of, if you reboot your system and you eat how you are suggesting through the series, man, I got to believe that after a week of eating well, following the prescription, I should feel better.
Oh yeah.
I should lose weight.
Man, you would feel better. You'd have better cellular energy.
Yeah.
Over time, your skin will age more gracefully or slowly, the signs of aging, should say.
Yeah.
But all these kinds of things.
Just the foundation of that would get us, get us into better habits.
Okay.
Right. I just think that would be a great value add.
Okay, no problem. Well, so let me ask you one question. Are you willing to drink sardine smoothies?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If Foucault
Fortunately, you don't have to. Okay. So sardines are
I love sardines.
You like sardines?
I eat. Yes, I like.
Oh, so you're serious? Like you are willing to drink sardine smoothies?
I would. I would.
Oh crap. Okay. Wow. Almost nobody wants to drink sardine smoothies. So there's sardines are 1.5% nucleic acids by weight. It's one of the best sources of RNA material for your body. But there's an alternative, a couple of alternatives that are even higher that are not fish.
Okay.
So we'll be talking about all that stuff.
Okay, cool.
So you
Cool.
don't have to drink a sardine
No, if
smoothie.
you walked into my pantry downstairs, you would see probably 24 cans of sardines in there.
No kidding.
Yeah. Yep.
How do you eat them?
I eat them straight.
What do you
I
mean?
just-
You just pull it out of the can, the
I
tin?
open it up,
Yeah.
dump it in a bowl, and I'll just take a fork and
What?
eat the whole thing. Yeah. Sardines are great.
You're not messing with me?
No, I'm not.
You just eat sardines
Yeah.
right out of the tin.
Yeah. I've always loved sardines.
Wow.
And
Well,
they're
that's a
good-
really
they're
healthy
good for
habit,
you.
man.
They're good for you,
They are very good for you.
right?
Yeah, and it's also one of the cleanest things out of the ocean because
Yes.
small fish don't bioaccumulate as much of a toxic load as the
Exactly.
larger, like tuna.
That's right. That's right.
Man, I didn't know that about you.
You know, there's a whole sardine diet to where like you eat nothing but sardines for like 5 days.
Oh,
And it's a total
seriously?
body detox. Yeah, it's
Oh.
supposed to just really adjust everything internally.
Oh, man, I cannot handle that.
I take it you don't share my affinity to the taste of sardines, Mike? Is
Look,
it more-
I grew up in the Midwest. We don't do a lot of seafood, man. It's like hamburger and potatoes and stuff. You know?
I hear you.
Yeah. Did you grow up near the coast?
No, I grew up in Goodland, Kansas.
You grew up in Kansas?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So you
And I
grew
went-
up in
I
the
went-
Midwest too. What are
Yeah,
you talking
I went to college at the University of Iowa.
Where did you
and then,
learn to eat sardines, man?
The Instagram told me about the sardine diet a long time ago.
That's just crazy.
I'll try that.
Okay. You're one of the very, very small number of people from Kansas that like sardines.
Yeah, and I screwed up at first when I first started doing it. I got anchovies, not sardines.
Oh,
And then I'm like, that wasn't gonna work. And then I realized, no, it's the sardine diet. And then I got the sardines, and I like it. I
Okay,
mean,
so you don't do anchovies on pizza?
I could, but I don't think it's worth. It doesn't have the ROI.
Okay,
For
but
me.
would you put sardines on a pizza?
No,
No, not either.
no.
You just
Pepperoni, mushroom, double cheese pizza. That's my go-to.
I see.
Mike. Well done.
with a side
crisp.
bowl of just sardines, right, slopping them right out of the can.
Arr, yeah.
All right. Well, we all learned something new today. That's cool. I mean, I'm impressed because that's a really healthy habit, man.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is.
It's try it, everyone. So search the sardine diet. You'll see the
Okay.
protocol, which is eat sardines.
Yeah, pretty much. You don't really need much of a book on that one. It's just like chapter 1, eat sardines, Chapter 2.
three times a day.
Yeah.
Eat sardines.
Keep eating sardines. Yeah.
Yeah. but it you have energy throughout the day.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you would know more about sardines than I do as far as what's in them, but I think maybe
Nucleic acids
okay.
plus healthy
Okay.
oils
Yes, exactly.
plus
they
a
say
lot of
don't do
protein.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say don't do it with the water sardines. You want the oils in there.
Yeah.
They're good for you,
Right.
right?
Yeah, they're very healthy. Wow. I mean, and I'm not trying to be insulting, but I do feed sardines to my dogs specifically
Yeah.
because of their nutritional content, and they love them. They love them.
Yeah. The only negative is like after 3 days, if you sweat, you do kind of start smelling like sardines.
What? You have like a fishy aura?
Yeah. Yep.
You're
little
kidding
bit.
me.
Nope. Little bit. My wife.
Did your wife
knows.
tell you about that? Hey, Todd,
Smell like sardines.
lay off the sardines, bud. You're getting a little fishy.
Kind of how the conversation went, Mike.
You smell like the bottom of a seafood barrel.
Yeah, it definitely included something that sounded a lot like, until you're done, don't even think about kissing me, honey.
Wow. Okay. All right, man. Well, Again,
So there you go, sports fan.
All right. Well, you have out nutrified the health ranger with that one, because you're eating healthier fish than I am.
Yeah. And you know what, Mike? People can acquire a UNA to keep more of what they earn so they can invest that in sardines.
That's
How's
true.
that for a segue?
What's the shelf life of those sardine cans? What is that? Couple years?
Think a couple years.
See, there you go. Well, no, since you brought up the UNA, go ahead and talk about it.
Sure.
We'll bring up the website, my575e.com.
That's right, my575e.com. You'll see a button there that says "Let's Go." And if you'd like to keep more of what you earn, protect what you have, and decrease your personal liability, I really encourage you to discover this relatively undiscovered entity. And I help you do that through the website. So you just hit "Let's Go," put your name and email in there, and then you can watch a 90-minute video interview of Dennis Gray. He's the subject matter expert. Has been doing this, helping people for 40 years acquire these. I got my own UNA 8 years ago. And Mike, since we started talking about it on the show, goodness, almost 3 years ago, I've helped over 700 people acquire these UNAs. We have a private Telegram group which is going to soon to be a Forta chat group too, to where there's over 600 people in there. And that's where amazing support is. And Mike, I know that you've spoken to some of our experts from the group on some a little bit more sophisticated issues. And I'm just telling you that the people who acquire these UNAs, most have come through this show. And if you're watching Mike Adams or DTV, you're just not a dumb person. So all I want to do is help you understand it. And I think I do a pretty good job through the website. But if you want to have a more personal conversation, I'm available for a consultation. You can book it right through the site. And look, it's just an amazing entity that is life-changing, and it is codified in California law. The key is it needs to be a California established UNA. And let's chat about it, because we're really doing some good out there, Mike, helping people.
You are. And I did speak with a couple of your high-end experts that know how to deploy this, because I was curious. I'm learning more about your system all the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's not your system. I mean, the state of California made it a law years ago.
Yep.
And what I learned from these people, I'm going to have to process this, because they have a map for structures involving core UNAs with other entities that provide, privacy protection with full banking access and operations. They're used by people who handle like investment money, ranchers, for-profit businesses, nonprofit entities, people who just want to protect a home or protect a piece of land, whatever. I was astonished. They know their stuff.
It is a journey, and it's one of those that once you acquire a UNA, it's, you're invited to almost a very, very special club of freedom-minded people, Mike, and everybody is rooting for each other in there. There was a gentleman over the holidays. It was so cool. He came in and he goes, "I love this group. It's all for one, and we're the one." And that's just kind of the and boy, oh boy, when I do these consultations, everybody loves him some Mike Adams. I mean, everybody opens up with the same thing. I've been following Mike for 2 decades. And so
wow.
Yeah.
I haven't offended them by now. I mean, I don't hold back sometimes. No, I really appreciate that. We have an amazing audience, people who watch the show.
Really do.
I mean, just the best people. I think the remnant of humanity, actually.
I do too.
We are the survivors who can navigate anything that the world throws our way.
Yeah.
And I just want to encourage you, you should add an incentive, a free can of sardines with every UNA. So just in case. No, but seriously, folks, if you want some ultra clean superfoods and nutritional supplements and foods, go to my online store. Okay, here it is, healthrangerstore.com, and we have a massive mass spec laboratory. We test for heavy metals and glyphosate, atrazine for some items, dioxins, PCBs for other items, etc. We have all these categories: supplements, preparedness, personal care, food and beverage, and home, laundry detergent. If you're still buying a store-bought laundry powder, you need to change, because that stuff is toxic out there. We have ultra clean, no synthetic fragrances whatsoever in any of our products. We avoid GMOs. We avoid garbage or fillers or whatever, to bring you the cleanest, most laboratory scrutinized products for healthy living. And you can find all of that at healthrangerstore.com. And of course, that helps support this platform as well. So we thank you for your support. All right, Todd. Well, what another amazing show, and a very practical one today.
Yeah. I think this weekend is going to be fun for me. Try to figure this stuff out. And I just encourage everybody else to kind of enjoy the sport of Forta chat. You know,
Yeah.
Let's figure it out.
It's like fortitude and Forta chat. They kind of go
like
together, right?
I like it.
Fortitude.
Yes.
It's also a good attitude of privacy, and, you know, giving your finger to the establishment is like, you're not going to spy on me. I mean, we're living under a surveillance infrastructure now. You got to protect your privacy.
Forta finger.
Forta finger. Oh man. Okay. Well, now that you told me your sardine story, now I have some new ideas for the AI rendering video of Avatar. Oh man, you're gonna regret telling me about that one. It's now, it's going wild now.
Oh my gosh.
The whole ocean of ideas. Let's put it that way.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, Todd, have a great weekend, and thanks for all your time today. It's been fun.
Okay. Take care, everyone. Cheers.
All right. And remember, everybody, the other episodes, you can find them and watch them all at decentralized.tv. For Mike Adams and Todd Pittner, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. Take care.